Per the request of several people I've talked to, and my last video, by the way, went to another Oxford game last night. They won again, homecoming. My nephew was on homecoming court. Way to go, bro. I'm going to be talking about relationships. And relationships are hard to talk about these days because the dynamics are all over the place. People are breaking away from traditions, which in some cases is totally fine, if not an improvement to what relationships used to be. But in some cases, when you break away from traditions, you also are creating more chaos and more pain for people. So, and it's hard to talk about because I'll be saying things that are going to be more factual and research based. That a lot of things these days are about feelings, and the problem is these are facts, and they're not gonna tend to your feelings, unfortunately. So, if you don't like what I'm saying, go ahead and keep scrolling or keep watching, and maybe I'll change your mind on it. So, reeling it in. As a therapist, I'm going to be sharing a lot of the tools and a lot of the concepts that I've been using with my couples over the last couple years. And I'm going to be speaking more to the men on a lot of this. And the main reason for that, by the way, is because what I've noticed, what a lot of the research shows, is that men set the temperature for the relationship. Okay? I don't know if it's because we're bigger, louder. I don't know what it is. I'm not 100% sure, but I just know that is something that I've seen with all the couples that I've been working with, and a lot of the research that I've been doing. So, as a man in a relationship, with or without children, it comes down to leadership. And leadership is not the same as dictatorship, by the way. As a Christian, I'll be using some of those concepts as well from biblical concepts, but one main one is that the man is the head of the house, okay? Unfortunately, in the past, a lot of men use this as that means whatever I say goes, and then it becomes all about them, and then there goes your leadership. Now you're back into dictatorship, right? That's not at all what that means. It means that the man needs to know what's best for the family and create a structure and a plan and move in that direction and learn how to lead going into that direction. And this is the issue is I see a lot of men who are like grown up little boys. Like you might be 40 or 50 years old, but you're still super immature. And it's like trying to, have Peter Pan be the leader. They just don't want to grow up. They want to stay in their video games. Not that anything's wrong with video games, just you get what I'm saying. So for men in these leadership roles, there are two things that you need to learn how to deal with. Number one, your own feelings. Yes, feelings. Now, the limbic system is part of the brain that more often than not will hijack the logical part. The limbic system is the emotional side of the brain that more often than not will hijack the logical side of the brain. And that's when you get, meltdowns or emotional responses or even traumatic responses. And I'll go into trauma responses some other time. I'm not going down that road. So if we're setting the temperature and we don't know how to handle our own emotions, then the temperature of the relationship is going to be all over the place, and it's not going to be steady. It's not going to be healthy. So as a man, we need to learn how to deal with our own feelings as well as create structure for our woman's feelings. Okay. So I was doing some research on transgenderism because I'm trying to understand it more. And there are three parts, in my opinion. There's the actual disorder, if that's what you want to call it, but the actual biological transgenderism. And then there's the trend. And then there's the push from the mainstream, however you want to say that. And whatever. I won't even get into that stuff because that's a minefield. So But based on the research and a lot of the interviews that I've been watching, is that what happens is when a female transitions into a man, they're taking all this testosterone. And what they found, I kept hearing this over and over. I didn't cry as much as I used to. I wouldn't get as emotional as I used to. I was using a lot more logic. So I researched into that. Why is that happening? So what testosterone does is it helps create an integration between the logic and the emotion within a man. And it does this naturally. And this is why men just don't cry as much as women. And it's proven that women, on average, feel negative emotions, by the way, but more emotions deeper than men do after puberty. Before that, men feel emotions more than women, and whatever, we're just a hot mess before that. So this is probably why the man has to, in some cases, be the leader. Now, I'm not saying he's got to be the leader all the time, whatever, you get what I'm saying, but there has to be a leadership that's there that can not only handle his own emotions, but be able to handle his woman's emotions. And if you can't do that, and I'm finding most men can't do that, that is what I'm finding. They either shut it down, which is stonewalling, or they criticize it, which is one of the four horsemen, so we got two already, or they walk away, which is also stonewalling. You know, they won't sit there and actually take it. And so then the girl is just left feeling like unsupported, feels judged, feels like she can't open up, all this stuff. But if you can't handle your own emotions, then you're not going to be able to handle hers. Excuse me. So one of the concepts that I use quite often is the masculine versus feminine. Now, masculinity is it's under attack right now. It's considered toxic, I guess, or this idea of toxic masculinity, which, by the way, doesn't actually exist, at least not in my opinion. Toxic masculinity is just someone being a D-bag, right? And just like toxic femininity is just someone being, whatever, fill in the blank. It's just someone being an a-hole. That's all it is. Because if you're truly masculine or truly feminine, that means you're in a decent state and you're healthy. Now, if you're unhealthy, then sure, I guess you can consider that toxic femininity or masculinity, whatever you want to call it. But with that, masculinity is typically very solution focused, very structured. It's more focused on doing, where femininity is more about emotions, empathy, and more about being. And so you need both of them. By the way, you need both of them. This whole idea, I'm watching some of these trends online about how we don't need men anymore. We need each other. We need each other. Now, to some degree, and this is hard to talk about, but to some degree, we don't really need relationships anymore. I will get into that at another point, but not today. But there is some truth to that, and I don't like saying that, but whatever. So, but we do, it's a yin yang, okay? For every man, there's a feminine side, and for every woman, there's a masculine side. And these are just energies that you can tap into. And when you do it properly, okay? When you do it properly, you create something called polarity. And polarity, obviously, if you know anything about magnets, they're pulling towards each other. It creates an attraction. If you do it incorrectly, which I'm watching, it's trending right now through our media, through our mainstream, messages that we're getting. I'm watching it with a lot of my clients, and they're just repelling each other, and they just hate each other. And it's like, well, how do we change this? And like I said, in my opinion, much of this falls on the man most of the time, and that's a hard pill to swallow. It really is. So this, and by the way, music, this is a cool analogy. Well, in my opinion, music is feminine and masculine at the same time. You get the masculine, which is the structure, okay? You've got the mathematical 4/4 count. You've got 7 notes, and the 8th one is an octave. So you've got this very logical structure, but then the emotion that comes with it. I mean, it doesn't matter the music at all. There's emotion with it, which is all about being, and that internal, well, yeah. So it's all about being, and so music is actually a good analogy for masculine and feminine, how well it works together. And so if you want to create a symphony, then you've got to be good at understanding these concepts, tapping into these concepts, and that will create health within your relationship. So I think the next video, I don't have this completely planned out, but I got quite a bit planned out. And I apologize in advance because I do have ADHD. I'm trying to make everything as concise and structured as I can, because if you saw what was going on up here, you'd be like, well, this is chaos. So I'm doing the best I can, so bear with me. But I will go more into leadership and how you need to handle, for men, right? How to handle your emotions. That's more of what I'm going to be looking for. So feel free to roast me if you don't agree with what I'm saying on some of this stuff. I got really thick skin when it comes to that. It takes a lot to offend me sometimes. It depends on the mood, I suppose. Anyways, so with that being said, please leave comments, like the video, share it, or not, whatever. Tell me I'm way off base if you want to. But yeah, all right, for now, good game.